Today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in the quest for El Dorado. This is a deck building game with a map similar to Clank in that you are building a deck and using that deck to move around a modular map that has different terrain types on it. That's a nice twist in this game, that you have different terrain types. Certain cards correspond with those different terrain types, and you're also acquiring new cards to fill out your deck. This game has two really cool mechanisms that I'd like to mention. One is, and both have been used in other deck building games, but I really like their implementation here. The first is that you can keep cards from turn to turn. So if you draw a few cards, I think you draw 4 cards on your turn, and you can spend some of them, you can use some of them, you can discard any of them that you want, or you can hold on to cards for your future turn. This is really important in this game because you're planning, like you can easily plan ahead to see where you need to go for future turns unless other players block you. And so it really helps sometimes when you can't use a card this turn, but you know if you combine it with a different card on a future turn, that it might be more useful. So I really, really like that aspect that you can hold over cards to future turns. Reminds me a little bit of Orleans, which is a bag building game where you can keep tokens from turn to turn if you don't use them. The other really cool thing, and this is the thing about the game that I really, really thought was very clever. A core aspect of many deck building games is that you can trash cards. So you're not only adding cards to your deck, but maybe there's some cards that you don't want in that deck at all, and you can trash them if you have a mechanism that allows you to do that. Usually it's a card that you can acquire that says, hey, now you can trash this card when you play this card. Quest for El Dorado has this built into the map itself, which I think is really thematic and cool. So you can see this tile here. You have different terrain types. You have the water, you have some forests. The gray terrain says just discard any 2 card to move on to this terrain type. And in the middle here, let's see if I have that upright, is a red space. And what that is saying, if you go there to move onto that space, you must trash a card. So it's both a requirement to actually get onto that space, and it's a benefit because you're choosing the card that you want to trash. You're getting rid of it completely out of your deck. I really, really like these spaces on the board. They're built into the board sometimes as deterrents, like places to not go through, like this one. But almost always it's a benefit to do this, and because you're getting a card out of your deck that you really don't want in there. I love how it's built into this map. I like that it's not an extra action on your player map that you have to remember. I like that it's not a card that you buy. I like that it's built into the map that you can go to this place and trash a card permanently. That's it. I mean, it's a brilliant, streamlined mechanism, and it just makes sense. It makes thematic sense, it makes mechanical sense, and I like that it gives you a target. Because in this game, you're choosing paths. You're choosing the most effective path. It's a race game, so you're trying to get through here as fast as possible. And so sometimes you might need to go out of your way to use that action space. In fact, in my first play, let's see if I can find the starting tile. On the starting tile in the original map for the game, it's way out of the way. So normally you would just bypass this spot. And I decided I want to go there and I want to trash a bunch of cards. So I went there, I think 3 or 4 turns in a row, just trashing card, moving out, trashing cards, moving out. And then finally I caught up with everybody else. And I almost beat them. I didn't win, but I was very, very close. And so it showed me that this mechanism works really, really well. Even if you go out of your way to trash cards, you can still be competitive in this game, even really early on in the game. Really cool mechanism. If you have an example in a deck building game or any game where you're removing something to improve your efficiency, where it's baked into the game as well as it is in the quest for El Dorado, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Thanks.